The NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are officially underway, and through the first couple of matchups, the top-seeded teams have not disappointed at home. But when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, anything can happen as these series continue to progress. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel and another Stanley Cup playoffs recap. I posted my first coverage video a few days ago for the first 48 hours of the postseason, so if you want to check out some of those earlier reviews, my video will be on one of these two sides. But today we're going to be covering the past 48 hours in the NHL with 8 different matchups occurring. So if you guys enjoy this video and the coverage that I'm doing of the playoffs, be sure to give this one a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything. And with all that being said, let's get into the first of our 8 matchups, the Washington Capitals versus the Montreal Canadiens. Game 1 of Montreal versus Washington, and to many people's surprise, we have a legitimate series on our hands. The game started off with a pretty intense goalie battle, but specifically it was Sam Montembeault who looked excellent in this one, stopping some pretty high quality chances from the Capitals early on to help Montreal settle into this game. The first goal, of course, came from Alex Ovechkin, who waits out on a shot and rips it high blocker side on Sam Montembeault to make the game 1-0 in favor of the Capitals. The second goal of the game also belonged to the Capitals, but this time it came from Anthony Beauvillier, who sometime later tipped the puck out of the air, tucked home his own rebound, and despite whether or not people believed this was a high stick goal, I believe this one was not going to be overturned and that we had a good goal from the Capitals, making this game 2-0 in favor of Washington. Now the Caps were in control for most of the game, and then Cole Caulfield got the Montreal Canadiens on the board with a power play tally after a tripping call on Pierre-Luc Dubois. The Canadiens would then be in charge of the remaining minutes, eventually leading to a scramble in front of the net where Nick Suzuki, the Canadiens' regular season point leader, showed incredible patience waiting out Logan Thompson and tucked the second of the night for Montreal, sending this game to overtime. The momentum was in favor of Montreal, but Washington would eventually win an offensive faceoff, and despite having a few clearing chances from Laine and Demidov, the Habs were unable to get the puck out of their own zone, leading to a pass out front where Alex Ovechkin would chop the puck out of the air and give the Capitals the 1-0 series lead with the final goal. Next game of the night, we have St. Louis at Winnipeg, and this series is shaping out to be one of the more exciting ones of the first round. The physicality in Game 1 was evident, but it only got better in Game 2. Mark Scheifele had a goal and an assist in this one, and Kyle Connor yet again would score the game winner in the third period to push the Jets past the Blues with a 2-1 victory and give them a commanding 2-0 series lead as they head back to St. Louis. The past 2 years, Winnipeg has won the first game in their series and then lost the next 4 to be eliminated, so this was a statement win for the organization, allowing them to break their recent trend. As for the St. Louis Blues, Binnington put on a show in this one, but the offensive pressure from the Jets was just too much to handle. Snuggerud would grab the only tuck of the night for St. Louis, getting his first career playoff goal, and Connor Hellebuck would have a great bounce-back performance to help the Jets obtain this comfortable series lead. Expect another intense matchup as this series shifts back to St. Louis. I can't imagine that the Blues are going to roll over in this one, so I think this is going to be a much deeper series than we're expecting, but if the Jets keep playing this way, look out, we might just have a sweep on our hands. Another Game 2 in this amazing night of hockey with the Colorado Avalanche facing off against the Dallas Stars. Gabe Landeskog would take warm-ups with the Avalanche but was still ruled out for Game 2, and it's likely that he's not going to play until their first game back home for Game 3. Now this felt like a must-win game for Dallas, who has lost 8 straight dating all the way back to the regular season and have also lost 8 straight playoff Game 1s. Nate Dogg would be the first to start off the scoring with a perfect snipe over Jake Ottinger in this one to give Colorado their first lead of the game. Right before the end of the first period, though, Dallas would answer back on a power play goal of their own, with Tyler Seguin netting the first one for the Stars. Thomas Harley would then respond with a second goal for Dallas to give them their first lead of the series, and also some huge momentum as they played with a much needed urgency in this one compared to Game 1. Jack Drury would then grab the second goal of the night off a nice feed from Logan O'Connor for the Avalanche, who by the way would also tuck the very next goal for the Avalanche, sending them into the second intermission with a 3-2 lead. Evgeny Dadonov would then score the equalizer midway through the third for the Stars, and despite getting a late power play opportunity off a Mikko Rantanen hooking call, the Avalanche were unable to capitalize on this opportunity, pushing the game to overtime. This is when Colin Blackwell, who mind you was a scratch for Game 1 and a perfect example of answering the call when needed, would grab his own rebound, tuck the game winner for Dallas in OT, tying the series 1-1 as they shift over to Colorado. Final game of Monday night's thrillers was between the LA Kings and Edmonton Oilers before we get into Tuesday's games, and in this one, the Los Angeles Kings fan base experienced a wide range of emotions after almost blowing a 4-0 lead to the Oilers. Fortunately for the Kings, they somehow managed to hold on in this one, but it did get scary for a minute. Andrei Kuzmenko had a goal and 2 assists in his Stanley Cup playoff debut with the Kings. Adrian Kempe added another goal and 2 assists himself to help lead the Kings in points. Quinton Byfield and Kevin Fiala also scored, and Darcy Kemper made 20 saves in a shaky first playoff game since winning the Cup back with Colorado in 2022. For the Oilers, Leon Draisaitl, Matthias Janmark, Corey Perry, and Zach Hyman all scored to give the Oilers a chance in this one, but of course it was Connor McDavid with this exceptional goal who would tie things up with just 2 minutes left to play. For the LA Kings, they needed to prevent this collapse from happening, or else this would have been a tough series to get through, and thankfully they did, finishing off the Oilers 6-5 and taking a 1-0 series lead. Game 1 of our Tuesday night matchups, we have the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New Jersey Devils. A strong performance by New Jersey and Jacob Markstrom in this one to try and get back into this series, but unfortunately for them, it was Jordan Martinook and Frederik Andersen who led the Carolina Hurricanes to now their 2-0 playoff series lead against the Devils. Like many predicted in this series, Carolina's defense is just suffocating against the Devils, and without them having their top point producer in Jack Hughes, who can help accelerate their 5v5 offense, the Devils have struggled to produce anything realistically against Carolina. This game was a better performance than Game 1, but now we have the series shifting back to New Jersey, with the Devils hoping to get back into this series at home. Game 2 of the night, we have the Battle of Ontario, and the first period of this one was all Toronto. Morgan Rielly opened up the score, providing the rest of the offense for Toronto with a little bit of a boost, and then it was John Tavares who got the second goal of the night for Toronto, making this seem like it was going to be another breakout game for the Leafs. But in the second period, the Ottawa Senators would respond, outshooting the Leafs and getting their first goal of the night from Brady Tkachuk. The third period was very similar to the second. The Ottawa Senators controlled the pace of play and completely took over this game. It was then Adam Gaudette who got the game-tying goal for Ottawa off a beautiful tip-in goal, sending this one to overtime. Unfortunately for Ottawa, they were unable to hold on to their lead as Max Domi would score at 3:09 of overtime, with the Toronto Maple Leafs surviving this game and getting a 2-0 lead in this series against the Senators. 26 saves for Anthony Stolarz and 18 for Linus Ullmark as we shift over to Ottawa for Game 3 of this series. Game 3 of the night, one of the more highly anticipated matchups of this first round, the Florida Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. This game was all Florida. Matthew Tkachuk had 2 power play goals and an assist in his first game in over a 2-month absence for the Panthers. Nate Schmidt scored a power play goal and finished with 2 on the night. Sam Bennett and Sam Reinhart each had their own goal and an assist, and Sergei Bobrovsky made 20 saves for the Panthers as they finished this out 6-2. As for the Tampa Bay Lightning, not a great performance by Andrei Vasilevsky, who had 10 stops. They did get a goal from Jake Gensel and Braden Point, but at home, they're going to need to be a lot better. The Lightning also had some pretty tough news. They played the final 33 minutes of the game without their center Anthony Cirelli, so there's no word on what his injury might be, but he was out for the remainder of this match. Despite being heavy favorites, the Lightning will have to respond after this embarrassing loss at home for Game 2, but the Panthers really showed up and showed out in this one, proving to the league that they're still the top dogs until you beat them. Final game of the night, the Minnesota Wild upset the Vegas Golden Knights at home in Game 2, beating them down 5-2. This was the first time the Wild had beat the Golden Knights all season long, who beat them in the regular season 3 times and in Game 1 4-2. Minnesota's stars showed out in this one. Kirill Kaprizov had 2 goals and an assist. Matt Boldy had another goal and an assist, making that his 3rd of the series. Marcus Foligno and Matt Zuccarello also scored, and Filip Gustavsson was incredible, stopping 29 of the Vegas Golden Knights shots. The Golden Knights came out firing and actually looked like they were going to be dominant in this game, but Filip Gustavsson weathered the storm and Minnesota just took advantage of all of the turnovers that Vegas had on the game. We're going to be shifting back to Minnesota for Game 3 of this series, with the Wild looking to go ahead and build off of this big time win, but for Vegas, a little bit of a shaky game for them in this one, and this series might be a little bit more interesting than people were predicting. But this is everything that's happened in the past 48 hours of the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you're enjoying this coverage, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And hey, let me know your general thoughts on all of these series in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will see you guys in the next episode.